sooner had the sorcerer said this than a great tumult arose in the council. The councillors were filled with horror, and cried aloud that the sorcerer should be torn to pieces for speaking such words. But the king arose and bade them be silent, and he was as white as death. "Is this the only way to save my people?" he asked. "It is the only way I know of," answered the sorcerer. The king stood still and white for a time. "Then," said he, "if it is the only way, so let it be. But first let it be proclaimed far and wide throughout my kingdom that there is an heroic deed to be done. Whosoever will do battle with the Stoorworm and slay it or drive it off shall have the Princess Gemlovely for a bride, and the half of my kingdom, and my sword Snickersnapper for his own. And after my death he shall rule as king over all the realm." Then the king dismissed the council, and they went away in silence, with dark and heavy looks. A proclamation was sent out as the king commanded, saying that whoever could kill the Stoorworm or drive it away should have the princess and the half of the kingdom as a reward, and the king's sword, and after the king's death should reign over the whole realm. When this news went out, many a man wished he might win these 3 prizes for himself. For what better was there to be desired than a beauteous wife, a kingdom to reign over, and the most famous sword in all the world? But fine as were the prizes, only 36 bold hearts came to offer themselves for the task, so great was the fear of the Stoorworm. Of this number, the first 12 who looked at the Stoorworm fell ill at the sight of him and had to be carried home. The next 12 did not stay to be carried, but ran home on their own legs, and shut themselves up in strong fortresses. And the last 12 stayed at the king's palace, with their hearts in their stomachs, and their wrists too weak with fear to strike a blow, even to win a kingdom. So there was nothing left but for the princess to be offered up to the Stoorworm, for it was better that one should be lost, even though that one were the princess, than that the whole country should be destroyed. Then there was great grief and lamenting throughout the land, for the Princess Gemlovely was so kind and gentle that she was beloved by all, both high and low. Only Ashiepattle heard it all unmoved. He said nothing, but sat by the fire and thought, and what his thoughts were he told to nobody. The day was set when the princess was to be offered up to the Stoorworm, and the night before there was a great feast at the palace, but a sad feast it was. Little was eaten and less was said. The king sat with his back to the light and bit his fingers, and no one dared to speak to him. In the poorer houses there was a great stir and bustle and laying out of coats and dresses, for many were planning to go to the seashore to see the princess offered up to the Stoorworm, though a gruesome sight would be to see. Ashiepattle's father and brothers were planning to go with the rest, but his mother and sister wept, and said they would not see it for anything in the world. Now Ashiepattle's father had a horse named Feetgong, and he was not much to look at. Nevertheless the farmer treasured him, and it was not often he would let anyone use him but himself. When the farmer rode Feetgong, he could make him go like the wind, none faster, and that without beating him either. Then, when the farmer wished him to stop, Feetgong would stand as still as though he were frozen to the ground. No one could make him budge. But if anyone other than the farmer rode him, then it was quite different. Feetgong would jog along, and not even a beating would drive him faster. And then if one wanted him to stop, that was as hard to do as it was to start him. Ashiepattle was sure there was some secret about this, that his father had a way to make him go that no one knew about. But what that way was he could not find out. The day before the beauteous Gemlovely was to be sacrificed, Ashiepattle said to his mother, "Tell me something. How is it that Feetgong will not go for you or my brothers or anyone, but when my father mounts him he goes like the wind, none faster?" Then his mother answered, "Indeed, I do not know." "It seems a strange thing that my father would not tell you that," said Ashiepattle, "and you his own true wife." To this his mother answered nothing.